It's week 6 of 2022. I'm Smita Nair. This is your weekly fix. It started with the government pre-university college in Udupi town barring 6 female Muslim students from entering the college for weeks for wearing the hijab. Few other colleges, also in coastal Karnataka, followed suit. These college administrators claim they are implementing an existing dress code. The students say no such rule existed until now. That Hindu right-wing groups enjoying leverage with the state have a role to play in the events that played out became evident when dozens of young male students were seen sporting saffron shawls in apparent opposition to the Muslim girls in hijabs who were demanding they be allowed to exercise their fundamental right to access education. In a video that went viral, a young girl in a hijab walking into her college is seen being intimidated and heckled by dozens of boys in saffron shawls. On the podcast today, we're joined by Noorjehan Safia Niaz. Noorjehan Niaz is the co-founder of the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan, a feminist collective which fights for the citizenship rights of Muslims in India. BMMA was one of the petitioners in the Supreme Court in the Triple Talaq case. Thank you, Ms. Niaz, for speaking to us here on Scroll.
Thank you so much for allowing this conversation.
I want to begin by asking you about your thoughts when you saw those images on Tuesday of that young Muslim girl in a burqa walking into her college to submit her assignment, being menacingly heckled and followed by dozens of these young men in saffron scarves. As a woman, I can imagine the terror she would have felt. But this girl, she doesn't flinch. At least she keeps a stoic exterior.
I felt very sad because this is where it has all come to. It's the students go to college or school to study and be with each other, and we've all gone through our college and school lives, and that's a wonderful phase. But the communal virus, the poison has come down to this level where students are there fighting each other. Other than that, I found her very courageous. I as a woman, it was empowering that she's not scared. She's ready to face.
Right.
But as I said, the force on the other side has been raked up. The students who are wearing saffron scarves, now they are on their own, they wouldn't do something like this. Because when you are at that age, you just want to study and be there and be part of that life.
Right.
And the communalism has seeped into our educational institutes, and you are a set of ideology has been ingrained and indoctrinated in our students. And that is what is very frightening. It is scary. And not just as Muslim women. I mean, this is not just a Muslim women's issue. Also, although it appears on the face of it, it is something which all of us will need to address. What has happened is in Karnataka is the larger fascist agenda. So whether it is Corona Jihad or hijab or other issues that have been raked up all the time. Earlier it was beef, then other issues that have come, the Azan issue. So if this regime is here with an anti-rule agenda, which is clearly anti-Muslim, it's going to rake up these issues time and again. Today it's this, tomorrow it will be something else, day after it will be something else. So this needs to be called out. That what is your problem with the Muslim community? We are here to stay. We've been here for centuries and we are not going anywhere. Is this how you're going to deal with us? Yeah.
I want to explore the statement that the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan put out in some detail. The statement decries the singling out of Muslim women in these colleges and demands that they be allowed back into the classrooms to exercise their right to education without any hindrance. The statement underscores that any move by college authorities cannot be violative of fundamental rights guaranteed in the Constitution. You say unequivocally that the current discrimination in the name of hijab is an outright violation of constitutional principles of equality and justice. Right to religious freedom, you say, is as much a tenet of our democracy as is secularism, and that singling out hijab for criticism is unfair and discriminatory. Those opposing it, the BJP and the Sangh Parivar you point out, are on record decrying secularism and for openly espousing majoritarianism. You say they are resorting to hate and divisive politics by instigating students to wear saffron scarves to counter the girls in hijabs, and that this gross instrumentalization of young students to spread division in society must stop immediately.
Yeah.
Your statement also says that we believe the hijab is a patriarchal imposition as much as the ghungat or the sindoor or the bindi or other diktats being imposed on girls in our country across different faiths and communities. There is ample evidence put out by Muslim feminist scholars such as Fatima Mernisi, Asma Lambrabet, and others highlighting the patriarchal origins of the veil in Islam. You urge in your statement that if it is indeed about choice, the early imposition of the hijab must stop and we must let adult women take their own decision. Now, there has been some criticism that this part of your statement was ill-timed and that it unnecessarily muddies the main issue here, that of a majoritarian administration targeting Muslim women and clamping down on her right to free religious expression.
So my answer to this is when was the time right ever in the past? We've been told about this particular statement that the time is not right has been thrown at us multiple times, not just by religious groups, but all kinds of secular feminist groups as well. Don't talk about this now. So probably when we got our independence and partition happened, a lot of those issues were never taken up. The state also did not allow those kinds of discussions which happened. But if you look at the 30s, a whole lot of Muslim women's organizations were asking for a ban on, say, polygamy, on parda. I was surprised to read that even parda was something which they discussed in the 30s. But the damage of partition and all of that happened. We never discussed those issues afterwards. Then the whole communalization that began in the 80s, not the right time. 92 Babri Masjid demolition, not the right time. Gujarat genocide happened, not the right time. This government has come to power, again not the right time. So when is this right time going to come, and when are women going to be given that space to discuss that issues that affect them in their homes and within their families? For years we never discussed triple talaq. For years we have not talked about halala. For years we have not talked about polygamy, child marriage. And religious groups kind of took it upon themselves. These are matters of religion and Sharia. Nobody else should be talking about it. Why? Because it is affecting the ordinary women and communities and families. Why should we not talk about it? So the moment Muslim women use their agency to talk about issues which concern her, which concern her children, which concern her position within the family, the time is not right. And when that comes from liberal secular feminist groups, it is even more astonishing that they are not able to see the issue that Muslim women is facing. And this government is probably going to be there in power for the next 2 years, maybe, till the next elections. Maybe they come back to power again. We don't know. So are we not going to talk about it?
Yes.
75 years of independence and we're still not ready to talk about it. So kab baat kare? If you look at the law reform, if I have to focus on that issue, the first codified Muslim law reform effort happened in 1937. Okay, the Sharia Application Act came in. Then Dissolution of Muslim Marriage Act came in 1939. Okay, the next law came after 50 years. It came after the Shah Bano thing. Okay, 86. And now the fourth law has come in 2019, after 30 years. Another 12 years, 13 years, if we still don't talk about a comprehensively codified family law, it's going to be a century.
Right.
2037 में 100 साल हो जाएंगे and we would still not have a comprehensively codified law, which the Hindus of our country, which includes the religious minorities, Sikhs, Buddhists and Jains, have enjoyed a codified family law since 1955. They have a set of 4 codified laws: marriage, divorce, inheritance, succession, adoption. All aspects of family law have been codified, and over a period of time they have been amended and made better and better. The Christians, such a small community, they have their own family law codified by the government, by the parliament, much before independence also, and it has been amended. Parsis have their own family law. But Muslims, who comprise the second largest population in the world after Indonesia. And we are 15% of the population here. And 100 years, in the coming 12 years, if we look at it, we don't have a comprehensive codified law, and still people are saying time is not right. So somebody, whoever has said this, must tell me, assure me as a representative of Muslim women's organization who's talking about law reforms, to give me an assurance कि ये साल होगा जब आप बात कर सकोगे. Somebody has to assure the Muslim women who's a victim, no, all the time. Victim of child marriage, victim of polygamy, victim of triple talaq, victim of so many other practices, victim of halala, which is happening so silently and quietly. When are we going to talk about it?
So you're saying that one can be unequivocal in their condemnation of what has happened in Karnataka, the blatant abuse of state power, or by those who enjoy leverage with the state, while reiterating that the hijab is a patriarchal imposition. And as a Muslim woman who's been working towards social reform in her community, you are in no way doing a disservice to the community by saying so.
Absolutely. Right to education kidhar gaya? You cannot stop a girl from entering the school premises just because she is wearing a certain dress. If you are so concerned about it, have an open debate. Discuss it with all the stakeholders. That's how you do it, na?
Right.
If the school board has a certain dress code, and it's not that suddenly the girls have been wearing the hijab. Suddenly to nahi hua na, they may probably are wearing it for since the time the school has started or whatever. And if there's a problem, why did you in the first place allow the girls to come in with that dress code? If suddenly you've decided that it's a problem, then call the parents, call the board of trustees, the management of the school, larger community stakeholders, and discuss the issue. And ways and means could be found out to address the concern. No? You cannot stop girls from studying. You're just recovering from corona. Education has taken the biggest hit.
Yes.
Muslim community has been socially, economically very, very backward anyway. The lockdown has completely ruined the community. Just about beginning to go. And then you bring up something like this. So the intentions are definitely malicious. There's no doubt about it. But in this bargain, let us not put the issues below the carpet.
Okay, what about this? The veil in whichever form, headscarves, hijabs, niqabs have exercised governments across Europe, for instance. I have read several accounts of Muslim women saying that the sporting of the hijab for them has become a sort of subversive political statement to counter raging Islamophobia. You, Ms. Niaz, interact with a cross-section of Muslim women, young, old, working class, academics, elite. Is that a sentiment you've heard being expressed here too, that some women see the wearing of the hijab as being visibly Muslim, and in that they see an attempt to reclaim their due as equal citizens in a political environment that is pushing them to the margins?
Yeah, see, there are different ways by which you address or engage with the majority fundamentalism. It is so huge, it is out there, it is vicious, it is violent, and it is out there to destroy you. And then not making any bones about it. That's so clear. So there are different ways in which we are all dealing with it. So being a Muslim woman out there, I am not apologetic about me being a Muslim. The fact that we started Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan, a lot of people told us, why you want to have a Muslim women's organization? The very liberal secular feminists told us, why Muslim? But no, we are Muslim, and this is my belief, and I believe in my holy book, and these are my rights there, and I want those rights. So, in a way, as a statement to stand up to the fascist forces is, yeah, maybe that's each one's way of addressing it. But to say that is my identity, and this is how I'm going to be appearing before the larger state forces, without even discussing and debating whether that is really essentially, is that the part of your identity. Piche discussion to hua nahi hai. But as an individual, I have a right to put up with that identity. But without discussing, without debating, and showing it as this is the only way to express my identity, that is problematic.
Right.
And also imposition through schools, through colleges, wear this and only then you can go out to study, which also comes from families. Now, families are also those units of power, right? Within that power center, how much of a say does a young girl have? The imposition of hijab from a very small age, with small young girls. Now, should we not debate that? What choice are you giving? So if I'm used to wearing a particular dress, yeah, now at the age of 18 or 19 or 20, I'm suddenly told to wear something else. I will not be able to do it, right? Now, if you tell a young small girl that this is part of your identity, then you expect her to exercise her freedom of choice when she grows up, she will not be able to do it, right? Or maybe some will be able to do it as well. But choice की बात करते हो तो किसकी choice? एडल्ट की चॉइस या बच्चे की चॉइस? वो बच्ची को आप चॉइस दे भी रहे हो या नहीं दे रहे हो? These have to be debated and discussed. But of course, in this vicious environment, wo debate, the impact is that within the community, then these debates cannot happen.
But these patriarchal impositions and this sort of socializing of women to be a certain way is across religions.
Across religions, and they have to be discussed and debated within those communities. And if you have to create that space, but if you tell me that this is what the identity is and then this cannot be debated, then that is problematic. Then you are also playing in those hands, no?
Right. I wonder what you think about and whether you're in agreement with what the Egyptian American feminist Mona El-Tahawi spoke about. Being a Muslim feminist, that she finds herself between a rock and a hard place. She says on one side is the rock of the racist Islamophobic right, wanting to use the bodies and words of Muslim women as weapons or as a weapon against the Muslim community. And on the other side is the hard place of the Muslim misogynists who want to silence women.
Absolutely, completely. This is where all the reformist Muslim women across the various countries and different regions are struggling with this. Exactly the situation that we are in. Where is there space to discuss these issues? When are we going to discuss hijab? In a very non-threatening, easy, normal debate situations. When are we, just as we discussed triple talaq? Yeah. Thankfully, we had that space and the time. Yeah, a lot of debate happened in the Lok Sabha also. In the Rajya Sabha, it was rejected in Lok Sabha a couple of times. Or Rajya Sabha, I don't remember. But a lot of debate happened in the parliament and a lot of debate happened within the community. तो क्यों नहीं हम इस पर बात करें? But that space is not there. Hijab is one issue, but law reform, within law reform issue also, polygamy, child marriage, halala, these are practices which are still beyond the purview of the law. So is Muslim woman not a citizen of this country? When is she going to exercise her right to Article 14 and 15 and those wonderful constitutional provisions? So वो मुझे apply नहीं होते. Prevention of Child Marriage Act, Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, 2006. Why should it not apply to me?
Right.
Why should I be in a category where certain laws of the countries don't apply to me? Polygamy 494 IPC. It's a law for everybody. Why should it not apply to the Muslim women? Let her exercise her choice. No?
Then you will be told you're playing into the BJP's agenda of uniform civil code.
हाँ, तो अब क्या करें फिर? So should we not talk about that? That is exactly what she is saying. Why should a Muslim woman not be the beneficiary of protective legislations which our country has? Na? वो है ना, 494 IPC है, but आप बोलते हो हमको वो नहीं चाहिए. For a moment, take this government away. This government has come in 2014, right? What was happening before that? When we discussed child marriage, they said, no, it's part of our Sharia. Article 25 ले आते हैं. Haji Ali, Article 25. Triple Talaq, Article 25. But what about Article 14? And am I not a citizen to access the laws of the land? अच्छा, criminal law क्यों नहीं चाहिए तुमको? You want the civil laws of the country. You will go to the court the board went to the court in 1986. Went to the government, to the parliament to demand a separate legislation because they did not agree to the Supreme Court judgment for Shabanu. So आप parliament जाओगे तो चलेगा. पार्लियामेंट ही गए ना, पार्टी तो आती जाती रहती है. एक पार्टी पावर में थी, आप गए उसके पास, तो आप जाओगे तो चलेगा, हम जाए तो नहीं चलेगा. हम भी उसी पार्लियामेंट में जा रहे हैं. तो आप जाए तो आप अपना सिटीजनशिप राइट बोलते हैं, हम जाए तो हम सिटीजन नहीं है. वी आर प्लेइंग इन देयर हैंड्स. सो मेरा सिटीजनशिप राइट्स में कब एक्सरसाइज करूं?
राइट.
अब फोना इन्फो बोलेंगे हमको अप्लाई करो तो बोले नहीं, ठीक है, कोडिफाई द मुस्लिम फैमिली लॉ, give us a comprehensively codified Muslim code bill just as you have the Hindu वो तो भी करो, but उसके ऊपर you don't want to talk about it. So my rights within my religion, my rights within the constitution, my rights in the CEDAW, I'm also a global citizen. क्यों मैं CEDAW के जो principles है वो मेरी life में मैं क्यों नहीं लाऊं? Why do you want the Muslim women to confine within a certain framework, which is also very important? But then there are other circles by which she is surrounded. There's a constitution of this country, wonderful principles and values and articles. क्यों मैं access ना करूं? And then the larger global covenants that have come in, which are meant for women and for defending my human rights. And every time I do that, you say you're playing, or you are a BJP, you are an RSS, and you're playing in your hands. That is not going to take us anywhere. We are stuck.
Okay. A Karnataka student has moved a writ petition in the High Court seeking to declare that wearing hijab is a fundamental right under Articles 14 and 25 of the Constitution, and that it is an essential practice of Islam.
That is a problem with me. That is not an essential practice at all. If that would have been essential practice, then all those women across the world who don't wear hijab or who never wore earlier, were they not following the essential practice? Were they not Muslims? So this high ground that also you take, that this is the essential practice, and all those who are by default not practicing have moved away from the true Islam. Now that the arrogance that you also display, where you think you know the essentials of Islam, whereas the 5 tenets of Islam that we have been brought up to believe in do not mention hijab. So how has it become the 6th tenet? And that needs to be debated and discussed. Fundamental right, yes. I mean, that is there for the judges and the lawyers and people who are out there in the court to use the language of the Constitution to defend your right to wear what you want to wear. Personal choice, everything is fine. But you make it essential and portray to the world, to the community, that this is what comprises a Muslim woman's identity. That is a problem. And that needs to be discussed and debated.
Gautam Bhatia, the lawyer, the legal scholar, responding to the High Court during the hearing, reading out a Quranic verse on the dress code, commented on Twitter that, quote, you can always rely upon the Indian legal system to muck up issues and turn a case about abuse of state power into a case about endorsing religious patriarchy. Absolutely dire stuff.
I would agree with him, because this is what the state is doing. If you were so concerned about Muslim women and her hijab and her oppression, then you would have allowed a certain discussion and debate to happen. And you should have allowed it to be discussed and debated, and not use your power as a school or a college administration, or backed up by the state power to do what you're doing to the girls. What they're doing to the girls is wrong. Definitely.
One final question. The Shaheen Bagh protests and the months-long sit-in by women challenged the lazy stereotype that exists of Muslim women lacking agency. Here, in this case, in Karnataka too, these democratic protests by young Muslim girls has been applauded. We've seen Muslim women vocal on social media, speaking up on injustices against the community. There are women such as yourself and your organization, the BMMA, that is fighting conservatism and advocating for changes, both by working with the community as also seeking changes in law when necessary. How do you view the Muslim woman in India today and as a political being?
Definitely, it's very empowering to see BMMA emerging and talking about issues for decades. Nobody was willing to talk about it, and talking it rationally, logically, with facts and figures. And that was important. What happened, what Muslim women did through the Shaheen Baghs across the country, recognizing the constitution, their assertion of their citizenship within the larger constitutional framework. Wonderful. My only concern is so Shaheen Bagh and BMMA, in that sense, if you look at both the movements that have occurred, the Shaheen Bagh women are because they are also talking about the protection of the community in the larger constitutional framework and the rights of the community, they have been kind of what do you say, compared to say BMMA, where we have been told that you are putting community rights versus women's rights within the community. You are putting them as two different antagonizing forces. So when I talk about the rights of the community to the state, I'm a great Muslim woman. But when I talk about the rights of individual Muslim women within the community, I'm not a good Muslim woman. Now I'm playing into their hands. Okay. So my interests as a community is juxtaposed with my interest within the community. Democracy as a citizenship right and democracy within the community. Democracy within, debates within, discussions and disagreements within, that is something which is not a good thing. You're raking up issues. Don't talk about it now. But if my rights have to be protected vis-a-vis the state, yeah, then you speak up. But then that same woman, when she talks about her rights within the religion, about the issues which are troubling her within the family, then she should not talk. Then she is not a good woman. Then she is propped up by the Western feminists. Then she is anti-Islamic. And they are supported by the RSS, or they are RSS.
Point taken. Noorjehan Safia Niaz, thank you so much for making the time for speaking with us today. Thanks to our listeners as well. I'll be back next Friday.